LCS Countdown. We had plenty of powerhouse names in our Honda MVP discussion, but another area worth spotlighting this spring in particular, I believe, is our most improved players. Starting with the odd man out in this conversation, Evil Geniuses, definitely.
Yeah, definitely was a player with a lot of question marks around him. He was sort of the black sheep on a team of players that, has a pedigree. But I think that question mark has gone away, and it's just a period, full stop. This guy is good. And we've seen him carry consistently for EG. He's arguably been their most consistent player game after game, carrying late game and team fights on picks like Kaisa. So I think definitely has been really, really improved, and I think everyone should update their perception of him now.
And while definitely being the odd man out on Evil Geniuses, Emily, we can't ignore the trio of players over there on Dignitas behind the two veterans that we were talking about in our Honda MVP discussion. Let's start from the top lane and move our way down to the bottom. So, Fake God, what are you thinking?
So obviously, I have a lot of confidence, Fake God, if you saw my draft. But jokes aside, I think Fake God has improved tremendously. This is a player that I saw at Scouting Grounds, and he kind of came out of nowhere to perform really, really well at that event, where people are like, okay, who is this kid? Where has he been? What has he been doing? His first performance in LCS, I know a lot of times when players come in, especially in more of an emergency or like a substitute position, and they have one bad game or a few bad games, people tend to look at it and crystallize that in their mind as like the extent of what this player is capable of. I think we're definitely seeing Fake God improve from game to game, not just from then to now. And I think I'm really, really impressed with how he's played with this team, and I think the team facilitates him really well.
Speaking of being impressed about play, I've been more impressed with Soligo recently. If I'm going to be honest, you bring it back a year or two ago, I didn't think he was that good. I was pretty sure I could beat him 1v1 in lane. He's kind of no big deal. But nowadays, I think he would destroy me in lane. So Whoa. I'll give him that as a compliment. He's gotten a lot better since the past few years. He's no longer just in the 0-1 trick. He's been playing Yone and a bunch of different champions that he has shown skill on. So I'm really impressed with his ability to get better over time. And it's one of those things that people are always harping on NA about, right? Give players some time to develop. It takes some people more time than others, but Soligo is doing really well, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play more.
Hi, I think you saying Soligo would destroy you is the single nicest thing I've heard you say about any mid laner on or off broadcast. So congrats to Soligo. But I want to talk about Neo. I'm really, really impressed with Neo. This is a guy who was Asta before, and he wasn't particularly good. Let's be honest. He was like, screw that. I'm going to change my name to Neo. I'm going to unplug from the Matrix, train with Morpheus. Now this guy's doing Kung Fu on the Rift. He's had the highest KDA of all players in his position, and has been a huge carry for Dignitas later in the game. So this is perhaps the most improved player, and he's also one of the elite players in his position right now.
He's been an absolutely stellar player to watch in his growth this year, and a big part of Dignitas' success. Again, the surprise of the split, exciting so many of us. But if we're talking about improvements this spring, a name that comes to mind is TSM, a roster that stumbled during lock-in before falling into step as the season kind of progressed. That being said, they are coming off of a very tough loss yesterday. So, I'm wondering, what can TSM do, to bring home a win today?
Honestly, I'm not too concerned about TSM today. They're playing versus IMT, and IMT went 0-2 yesterday, even though they only had one game, quote-unquote. So, if anything, I'm more worried about IMT. TSM, they just have to change their drafting a little bit. I think Bjergsen tweeted out basically saying, my bad. You take a look at the draft, they have 3 losing lanes with a weaker jungler. It's really hard to play the game against a team like EG, where they're super active early, and you don't have any playmaking ability. So moving forward to today, I think Bjergsen's learning how to be a better coach, doing better draft, and they shouldn't hard run it this time around and draft again. They should be fine.
Yeah, I think High's right. They should be fine. IMT, on the other hand, a lot needs to go right? Like, they need a time machine to win. Revenge was solo killing Alphari. Xerxes was carrying on Hecarim. They were drafting Hecarim Rel. Really simple front-to-back comps, because although I like Raze playing these picks like Tristana and playing super aggressively, Vayne where it makes sense, I think what we saw in last game is they had a comp that was really, really hard to execute. He had Xerxes on Udyr, not providing the clear initiation that this team seems to thrive on. He had Raze on Vayne when there's not really anything for Vayne to reliably shred, and I think there's a lot of better AD picks here. So I think what this team needs to do is go back to basics, simple front-to-back team fighting comps, and look to exploit TSM's faltering early game.
Emily, we already talked about Immortals' path to the postseason and the fact that they have to go 2-0. So high stakes when it comes to this matchup. If they lose here, then the rest of the scenarios where EG loses out are irrelevant. But how are you assessing the matchup here between the two squads?
I mean, I kind of agree with Hai that I think TSM are going to be fine. Like, I think from what I've seen from this team, there are very few teams that have been able to exploit any passivity they have early. And furthermore, even though we didn't see it in the last game, something I like to bring up about TSM is the fact that some of their, like, counter control is really good. Basically, like if another team sets up for an objective and then they respond to it, which may seem like a backhanded compliment, but it's not. Like we talked about this during their Baron takes as well, which are really interesting. So I think even if TSM fall behind, I'm not sure if IMT have the mid game to be able to punish the way that TSM seem to respond around their opponent setting up for objectives.
Well, with just a couple minutes before we hop into Champions League for that first game, I want to take a look at your predictions for the day. I have a sense of where all of you are going in this very first matchup, but let's see, because yesterday definitely didn't go to chalk either. Oh my goodness. Across the board.
Is this another day where Dash just gets super mad and then takes all of the counter picks?
It didn't work out for me well very last time. Last time you guys all predicted the same. I said I'm taking the opposite. I ended 2-3 on the day. Let me think about this for a moment. That would mean Immortals over TSM, Dig over Cloud9, FlyQuest over 100, EG over TL, and Golden Guardians over CLG. I don't see that fifth one being possible. I don't really see Immortals beating TSM. I could see the other three, you know, as possibilities, however unlikely. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not an analyst for a reason. And now it's time for us to hand it over to Freak and Azael to get us into that first game of the day.
Thanks very much. Hello and welcome to the Caster Desk. I am indeed Freak. Over there is Azael. I hope I guessed correctly, and I did. Okay, that's nice to see. Yeah, hello, welcome to the cast. It's going to be a very fun one. It is Immortals fighting for their lives. If they lose today or they lose tomorrow, they are out of playoff contention.
But their fate still isn't even fully in their hands, right? You know, that's just gives them a chance if they actually win out to potentially, you know, catch up to EG. So obviously a very important game for them here today. But they have such a tough schedule going up against TSM today. I believe it's C9 tomorrow as well. So pretty brutal final games for them.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Meanwhile, TSM honestly doing reasonably well overall. Obviously, we know there's a whole bunch of teams tied for second. TSM one of them. They're just a simple game behind Cloud9. That is, of course, within reach for them. You know, if C9 loses to Immortals tomorrow, they lose to Ignitas today. Hey, first place is up for grabs. In general, you're looking at top four. We heard the desk talk about it during Countdown that getting the upper bracket start is important, which is what top four is going to be. If you fall to fifth or sixth, then one of these teams is going to have to do that. You know, Immortals would love to reach sixth, of course. Then you're doing the lower bracket start, which is going to be a much rougher road since only one team makes it to the mid-season invitational to represent the LCS. The drafts have begun, though, for TSM and Immortal. Seraphine, though she did get nerfed somewhat in this patch, still an incredibly strong pick. Hecarim on the other side.
Yep, Hecarim, a lot of people are looking at kind of as the S-tier jungler these days. Him alongside, you know, Udyr, Olaf, potentially, but depending upon what kind of compositions you're expecting your opponents to run, he works so well with a lot of the hard engage. With both Olaf and Hecarim already banned out, I think Immortals are just going to triple ban jungle and ban out Udyr as well, because generally, if you want to leave any of them up, you'll leave a couple up, so you can do a potential trade there or try to force the blue side team to ban some out. But both mid laners, you know, getting banned out here, potentially with Insanity having the Trist and the Lucian removed. You know, both of the possible AD carries that can play mid right now, or at least the only ones that we've really seen in the LCS. They have been gaining a lot of popularity. Trist is a flex pick, but we've even seen, you know, CLG, Pobelter using Lucian mid blind and having some success with it. So pretty interesting to see how popular those have gotten.
Well, triple jungle ban turns into the first pick, Lilia, anyway. TSM really trying to make sure they can get Spica something comfortable. One of the good power clearers. I mean, this is really the top four, right? These are the four that you picked if you want to get to the jungle really, really fast. Maybe down the pool a little bit goes Xerxes, but he's got a big chance pool, so we'll see where it goes.
Could just be, honestly, Renekton in Italy. Wouldn't surprise me if you want to go for that type of a combo. You know, it's such a strong duo that people really do like. Renekton being open, but of course they aren't going to go for that. Blind Orianna here will be the take for Insanity, perhaps feeling like they got to get a prio mid for him early with a couple of those already banned out in the first round of the drafts. I'm going to grab Kai'Sa alongside this. So there's so many big power picks still available. You know, you think about the Renekton, you think about the potential of the Rel still being open here. We did see some drafts yesterday where those fell down into the second round, even after a second phase of bans. So the priorities are changing up a little bit, but I still tend to feel like Renekton these days has been doing so incredibly well. You know, across the world in pro play this season, it has nearly a 60% win rate. It's pretty insane how successful this pick has been.
Interesting to see Azir grabbed up here. The nerfs in 11.5 was 10 flat damage to the soldiers, which you wouldn't think necessarily on paper is that massive, but it's like a 17% DPS cut to like all of the damage in the early game laning phase. And the damage scaling on soldiers is really, really slow. It's like 2 per level for 8 levels. So that 10 is going to stick around for a really long time. My impression was that Azir just cannot win lane trades anymore with this kind of nerf. But TSM said, you know, that's fine. I don't need to trade against you as long as I can last it under turret and scale. We've still got this great late game carry. And that part, of course, is switch with the champion. But I'm expecting lane dominance for Insanity now, as Kane will be locked in for Xerxes.
Yeah, I mean, Azir took solo queue win rates isn't everything, but he took an enormous hit in solo queue. And he's down to about 40%, and some elos below 40% win rate in mid lane now, which is absolutely abysmal after the nerfs. You know, that's a pretty enormous hit that he did take. So we'll see how Power of Evil does fare. The Kane pick, pretty interesting here. When you're looking over at the Lilia, you know, perhaps that's a champion you can attack. The Azir is maybe something you can attack. Going to be interested to see if it's a game where he's going blue Kane, which we've been seeing more of, especially with Prowler's Claw and whatnot. You do see that sometimes in solo queue. Red Kane can work fairly well also, but to see it picked this early is kind of surprising. You know, generally it feels like the only times you see Kane locked in is in a 5th pick situation where people are feeling like it's a perfect draft for it. It's just not really used as a common jungle pick these days with things like Skarner up, with things like Nidalee up. I am surprised.
Especially because you consider the fact that you could easily pick your top lane now before the bans like Gnar come through, because you're probably not expecting a Kane ban unless we're missing something based on scrim data, or, you know, it was like there was a big binge from Xerxes and solo queue or something and he thought it might have gotten taken away, or there's a really spicy top lane pick that they're waiting on that, you know, it's not going to get banned away anyway, and it like really defines the comp because it's like 5th pick Karma or, you know, Vayne top or whatever, like who knows. But yeah, it does feel a little surprising. Zai off the table, Thresh off the table, getting rid of some support picks. TSM, more than any other team, counter picks for Sword Art. So TSM, you know, they're going to hope Immortals blinds for Destiny right now. But otherwise, Sword Art's got a blinded support.
Yeah, we'll see where exactly they do want to take us. You know, Kai'Sa can pair with a lot of different champions, so they're not exactly pinched right there. Alistar is still up, feels like a pretty common combo to be putting it with. Alistar in general is just very high priority. We have seen Destiny play some Nautilus also. Sion is a blind pick top. It's an answer into the Renekton. Is going to be the pick here, and that makes sense since top lane's already showing. There's no reason really not to hold your support till 5th unless there's something that you feel is really high priority, but leaving it this late in the draft, clearly they're not too concerned about that and are instead trying to get more of a winning matchup, with TSM not showing any of their bot laners just yet.
Alrighty, well, Kane's gonna have a fun time here, potentially waiting to see now what TSM's gonna lock in for the rest of their lineup. They're gonna need their entire bot lane, so there's the Alistar that you mentioned.
Could be Kalista Alistar.
Yeah, let's see. Now an 80 carry down there. They do have some physical damage with Renekton, though I'm still expecting a marksman.
Yeah.
Ashe doesn't really get played, but like, hey, it provides crowd control. Jinx's backline high damage. This is a very, very scaling team if that's the case, though. Jinx Alistar can get some damage in, obviously. It can be something, but...
Yeah, they could go towards Jinx or Caitlyn or something if they want scaling, but Kalista Alistar, that's what I immediately thought when the Alistar gets locked in. I think the fact that you see a Kai'Sa down there is a champion that you feel like you might be able to abuse. We don't know what the support pairing is going to be here, but like I did mention the Nautilus earlier, that's something that they could go towards, but that doesn't feel like you got much with your 5th pick, you know, like... If they do go that, so maybe they want to go towards an Enchanter, maybe they want to go towards like a Morgana or a Janna or something like that to try to answer. It will be the Nautilus, but I can't say I feel like they really gained anything with red side. Right?
Yeah.
Like you blind picked your mid laner.
Yep.
Your 5th pick is your support, and it's Nautilus into Alistar. that doesn't feel like you really got anything for being on red side. So, I'm never a super big fan of those kind of drafts. I feel like you can get more sometimes just by reordering your picks. But of course, they wanted to go with the prio picks. They still have a pretty strong team comp here overall. A lot of engage with the Nautilus as well as the Scion here potentially. We'll see if Kane's going to be going blue or red. It feels like he might be going blue and try to attack some of these squishy champions alongside the Nautilus, alongside the Kai'Sa diving into the back line. But TSM, I think, are going to be pretty happy with what they got here too. You have a lot of priority up around that top lane. Lilia Renekton, I think, is a pretty strong combo. You have Power of Evil kind of in his comfort zone, just playing more for the late game. You had talked about he's probably going to be pushed in with those nerfs, but you have power points in top and bot for TSM, and that should give Speak a lot of ability to move around the map.
Yeah, I'll devil's advocate a little bit on the Immortals side and say, if they're not trying to win draft through counter picks, but trying to make sure they can draft a good composition. I know we talked about this a little bit before the show. Which teams actually have strong identities? And I think we kind of decided together that it didn't feel like Immortals had much of one. But what I have seen that's been good for them was specifically in the last half of the split, the team fighting out of Raze has been solid, like the Vayne especially seems to be doing pretty well. And at least especially in the first half of the season, I really, really liked Insanity in team fights. Like he had really, really high damage numbers, a very good KDA. Like they had really good output out of those two lanes. And if they're just going to say, we're going to play just very standard team fight. We've got a Scion in the front line, a Nautilus alongside that. Orianna is like the quintessential team fight mage, not named Azir. Like those are like the two that you think about with 5-on-5. It's like, yeah. And a Kai'Sa, because everyone wants Kai'Sa. It's like, okay, you just got a good 5-on-5 composition. And that's just, it feels like more and more where Immortals are going. Yeah, I agree. There are no spicy counter picks. I don't think any of the matchups are that outstanding. Like Orianna Azir, we've seen 100,000 times. But like, if you're going to team fight, I mean, they checked every single box in this draft.
Yeah. I guess I would just say then it's like, why not, if you have a contingent jungle pick, why not just hide the Kane till late, right? In the draft, see if it's a composition that you really are going to be comfortable playing this into. The early pick on something like the Kane that is more of that spicy pick, I think hiding information can be valuable. But I agree. I think Immortals do have a pretty solid comp overall. We'll see how that is going to work out for them. Interesting to see Spica has actually gone Predator on Lilia, which feels pretty atypical here. Generally speaking, you see more like the Dark Harvest type start. As they say, we'll just queue over the wall. So, more of a kind of utility gank heavy style Rune, and we'll see if he can make anything happen with that. It feels like maybe not the easiest champion to make Predator ganks work on because you don't have any hard CC, but potentially there's something going on there where maybe you just go for a lane gank with Predator, utilizing the setup of the Alistar or the Renekton, just be able to close the gap and follow up on that. So we'll have to track and see what he can get done with that.
Yeah, Predator, I do believe, still adds some damage on hit.
Yep,
so
it does.
It's mini electrocute, which I'm not saying you're going to run electrocute anyway, but yeah, you get into the lane, you get to go do a thing. We'll see how it goes. Ward's going to die. Oh no, the attack speed's not high enough. All right. TSM get to keep their ward. Kane, 99% of the time, starts on Raptors. They're just trying to guarantee it, basically. And see if he does any kind of weird shenanigans, like do you run to blue right away, or are you do a full clear red? So we'll see which one happens there. Right now, we have both. And I like, by the way, Scion is going to spend a little bit of time. That extra big Scion smash is going to help Kane get that jungle cleared even faster. You do save some time there, so a bit of help from Revenge, and off he goes.
Yep, exactly. I mean, the fact that you're getting the Raptors queued, plus the initial queue from Kane, pretty much insta-kills it, right? He's already on his red. Very, very quick clear there. Of course, Lilia, also no slouch, going to be clearing through that really fast. And we'll see who does get the push here. On this early wave, it does look like it's going to be Power of Evil. Has the Comet in this range matchup, which should give him a little bit of an edge. And we've been seeing, more and more of a mix-up. It's generally like Comet or Electrocute versus range, but we saw Hail of Blades, I believe, yesterday from, I want to say it was Saligo. We have still seen some lethal tempo. It's one of the champions that feels like you do get the widest variety of runes on. Of course, they kind of fit in a couple buckets, but still pretty interesting.
Ooh, nice right there. Level 2 spike comes in. They get the root on both players and sort of the Predator as well. I mean, really good by Destiny to walk up and get that anchor. TSM, this is still basic laning. How are you in range of a Nautilus? They're getting two. But hey, good trade by Immortals all the same.
Yeah, that is something that always surprises me when a team is going to get 2 with a hard engaged champ like Nautilus, and you're not just backing it up early enough to avoid that. You know, it's very easy to count the minions, and as a result, they lose so much health there. So it actually costs Sword Art both his potions. May not end up being much of a big deal, but you know, if they do get whittled down, have to take a bad base, it can be pretty impactful.
All right, so game state we're in right now, though, is a 4CS lead to Power Vivo in mid. That said, there's a bigger wave to kill, so Insanity probably ties up the score. PoE, though, heavily winning in potions. The last corrupting potion attack just burned now for Insanity. PoE trading aggressively with his mana pool. You know, a lot of spamming going on there, but still has both potions, so very good laning by PoE. Again, I really thought that the Azir changes were going to really ruin his laning. Certainly his priority in Pro has dropped a lot as a result of the changes, but PoE so far making the worst part of this patch is Azir doing just fine. Engage comes in for Sword Art, and that is big damage on Array. Stunned, ignited, nearly dead. Gets away, tries to use heal as late as possible. Now lost, has to heal and run away, but Xerxes here, flash Q, because he predicted the flash away. Beautiful by Xerxes to grab first blood.
Nicely done. TSM trying to go for the all-in there, but they end up getting taken down. I wonder if Lost could have flashed in for the Ren, you know, flashed in and tried to aggressively kill off Raze immediately there. Of course, they did end up playing it more defensively and trying to just back it up, but it felt like they got Raze so low off the initial play that they maybe could have made something happen. Now, 3-man top, looking for the dive. Will they pull it off? The TV's coming in.
Is out of mana, and the flash gets scooted to safety, only taking one more turret shot. Insanity can do only a single slow. That TP so late. They wish we would have maybe just taken down the mid lane wave. Ultimately, Rune gets to crash the wave, and TSM find a kill topside.
Really nicely done there, and aggressive trading from Rune did help to set that up, had gotten some HP off Revenge, and it also looked like Silence W. The shield was on cooldown for the dive, which was also important. So TSM striking back on the other side of the map, but Kane gonna be pretty happy about grabbing that early first blood. And has been out on the map to power farming. Nice pick here.
Rooted, slowed, a lot of damage. Pull bars on a 2 is going to be nice, but can they get the rest of the chase down? With the auto attacks unavailable, they're not going to get that one, so disengage. But hey, they dropped sort of 300 health, and yep, he just got out of base. He's got to go back, no potions.
Yeah, and they do see him on that ward. He will be backing it up here, though. Let's watch this one more time. So, you know, the initial play gets raised so low. He still has the heal. The spears are in him. I think you could have flash rended there. There was like 3-4 spears. He was at what, 10%, maybe 15% HP. It looked like that was a flash E kill for the Kalista. So, you know, not committing to that play, ends up using the flash and the heal both in retreat, dies for it anyway. So I will call that a misplay, you know, from Lost in that case. I think that should have been a kill, and then at the very worst, it's just a trade. But you get first blood.
Yeah, I think maybe they saw Kane and was like, we can't go for this one. If I flash, it's flash to go 1-for-1. If I run, maybe I live. Obviously, it was not enough, and the Kane got him regardless. But you're right. I mean, it clearly did not work out well. I will back you up overall. You know, despite the devil's advocate, I still agree. I think the flash kill is the highest expected value you could have gone for there. Cresting 6 minutes. Gold is equal between these teams. Power Vivo wants to make it better for TSM. Xerxes got no way out. He's going to get a smite, but he's still going to go down. Spica gets kill number 2 for TSM.
And really nice play there from Power Vivo. They knew there's no flash on the Kane from that earlier bot lane play, so going aggressive onto him, taking him down. He still hadn't gone back to base 6 minutes in, just now buying for the first time here. Spica was out on the map with his upgraded boots, grabbing the early Predator there, of course. You need the boots to be able to use your runes, so boots become a pretty important buy.
Yeah, no Keystone, not ideal otherwise. So Revenge gonna maybe bleed this one turret plate. See if Rune, if he hasn't tagged it, he's out of range, but the minion's gonna die before it drops anyway. So we'll get the plate later on. Didn't greed for that one just yet, but he's gonna be rich. Grabbed Cole off of that first recall. Xerxes giving his location to Sword Art, tracking him around. Did you put any wards down? You did not. To be honest, Sword Art doesn't have an upgraded Sight Stone, and he's on Sweeper, so couldn't put wards on if he wanted to. Just walked around and said, all right, we're done. We're done here, whatever.
I like that Destiny is kind of constantly moving up to this quadrant with Circe. You know, Kane wants to attack the enemy Raptors. Unfortunately, that will leash. But, you know, Destiny coming up here, looking for potential picks, trying to cover his jungler so he can steal away some of these camps from his opponent, I think is a nice little move, trying to keep this Kane farming, trying to keep him relevant, because they've really lost control of the top side of the map. You know, Renekton gives you so much prio up here. They got that initial dive off on Revenge, so he's kind of just stuck, posted up under his turret, and TSM have gotten into that topside jungle, warded it up, Huni's farming in between towers, and that's a tough position now as the Kane, because you really can't go up there very safely unless you have someone else around you.
Yeah, so Huni, I believe, missed gold on the top lane turret plate. Minions killed without Huni nearby, so that is actually 160 gold lost because he went for the proxy instead. Of course, that turret is
himself.
Yeah, this is a little scary, but he's got a ward to cover to see Zerg, so he's got a blast plant to get away. He's going to walk to that one and say, all right, we tried, no gains, it's fine. That's what I get for proxying. My wave's not under threat, so I can get back no problem. Ultimately does not get the red buff steal, but that was the, I guess, risk he went for, is to say, all right, I have the time to make this play and get out safely. Just didn't get anything for it.
Yeah, and I guess because Lilia hasn't shown for a while, you know, maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe Immortals will give me the benefit of the doubt that the jungler is here doing this and they won't want to face check it. But, you know, they just kind of call over Orianna. They do check it out. They do secure the red buff. So, you know, not much loss there for Huni. He lost a little bit of health, but he got the honey fruit. There wasn't a wave that he was missing. So I like the try, given that there was the blast plant to escape behind him. And now Lost is level 6, so the Immortals bot lane will have to be careful about any potential engage with that Kalista ultimate, though Alistar, of course, just hit 5. It was pretty far away.
Double stun comes in. Indeed, Raze has 6, so a re-engage couldn't be that bad. If they wanted to toss Destiny back in, if that hits, they maybe had the chance to go for more. Obviously, lost the one with the ulti to toss Sword Art around, not the other way around. Ultimately, yeah, not going to be much. Raze could have ulted in to chase someone, but yeah, no one was low enough for it to matter, so out we all go. Power of Evil still very comfortable up there as Revenge will ult back to the lane. Very standard Scion plays. Your post-6 TP is just your ultimate, and you get back to the lane no problem.
Yep. It's one of the strongest things about that champion because it's so hard to punish, right? You whittle him down once, he TPs. You whittle him down twice, he ults back. And then he really, if you look at his TP cooldown, he has to hold out for what? A little bit more than a minute before he can TP back to lane again. So it is one of the things that makes this champion very hard to punish. You know, all 3 of his basic abilities deal AoE damage there. You know, able to help clear out the waves pretty effectively and scales very well as a tank. You know, getting that passive HP on his W. So definitely a strong pick these days, but not the most reliable as far as landing the engage, you know, landing the ultimate or the knockup is conditional. And you can see he's worried about a potential dive, so is playing it pretty far back.
You know what I want to see, speaking of strong Scions, though? I want to see Crit Scion back in the LCS. I say back like it existed before. Because here's the thing, you can use all item actives in zombie form. So you can buy Gale Force and just wait. And be like, kill me, I dare you. I'm back in melee range, let's go. It's good. I want to say it's underrated. If Flowers is gonna, you know, fight for Skarner in every game, I'm gonna fight for Crit Scion in one of these games.
Not every game though, because just one game, you know.
One would make me happy, just one. All right. Okay. Buy it and sell it. I don't care. You hit the undo button, whatever it is. Top lane though, still obviously going pretty well. 16 CS lead for Huni. Mid lane +10 for Power of Evil. Bot, I guess to their credit, still going well for Immortals, which is nice. But you can see TSM sitting on about a 1,000 gold lead. Most of the chickens got taken. 32 gold for Spica. Nice job bowling. That's a strike for me as far as I'm concerned. And now they've got a spare top laner to kill as Revenge is ulti-less, has teleport, has flash. Huni gonna go for just turret damage first instead. Some of the Herald with 2 plates always kills it. Minimum damage of Herald is 2,000 no matter what, so that is full turret. And that is Huni taking, I think, all of the local gold of that turret.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do from here. Xerxes, with the lethality in this build, should be going blue Kane, so have to track how long it does take him to actually get the transform, but they're going in, TP coming bot too.
All right, big combo in. The TP a little bit later on. Now Raze has a flash away from Sword Art. Flash follow, though, means Lost is right in there. Easy Ren kill, gonna grab it. Have the rest of that fight. Insanity again shows up to TP and get phase rush off, but nothing else. Sword Art could be killed with Shockwave. Damage on Insanity. Gonna flash away because Sword Art now has ulti on, meaning he is not killable. Well played by Sword Art to hold on to the ult for when it was most important. Never could have been killed by Insanity. And that is the second time the mid laner of Immortals has not gotten anything done with his TP follow.
Yeah, the TP was pretty delayed. You know, after Power of Evil came through, it's a couple seconds late there from Insanity, so he does arrive, and perhaps just assuming that Sword Art had used the ultimate in the initial melee ends up costing him his flash also here, so another nice TP from Power of Evil. We talk about him for the most part as a guy who likes to stay in his lane, play pretty passively, but he is playing the Azir, and both of his teleports have been out of lane, right? You know, his first TP was towards top to get that dive. Now he just TP'd bot, got another kill for the team. So Power of Evil is having a great game, you know, winning 1v1 on this nerf champion in mid lane, and has been much more successful on the map.
This is impressive by TSM. They're playing it pretty nicely. I think a lot of what's made TSM good the last several weeks have been Sword Art's very good roaming, but he's been stuffed the last few times. This time around, just some damage, whatever. But the last few Sword Art roams got really, really screwed, right? At level 1 and 2, they took a bunch of damage, had to make him chug his potions. At level 3, he walks mid, gets hooked, has to instantly recall back away. So Sword Art hasn't really been the progenitor of kills, but despite that, they've gotten other stuff done. It's, hey, look, we're back to Hune's lane. We got you a kill up there. We then got you the turret. Hey, we found a fight bottom because PUE was ready to go. Like, it's impressive to see TSM able to attack basically everywhere.
Yeah, and to be able to do it on Azir, right? To be able to move around the map on Azir like that is not something that you expect. It's kind of the best of both worlds because you still have that inevitability of a powerful late game coming in here from Power of Evil. He's already got his mythic item completed. He didn't take a lot of pit stops for those laning items, but engage on Lost.
Flash Q, they get the root as well. Lost does not have a way out. Sion for good measure. Choo-choo! Nah, he's under the turret. We're going to wait. So, there you go. Ult the bot lane, TV to top, hold the turret, just keep it alive. Plates will fall, and you know, we might see a single turret plate killed for Immortals. They might get just one, as they've been bleeding everywhere else in the map. Zerk's going to find a slow on a Sword Art, maybe not much more. Bot lane will lose maybe a single plate there to raise. As we can see, 2 plates taken in mid, all 5 top, of course. That was the Herald to be part of it. And Immortals, okay, they'll get number 2 down here as well.
I'm a little bit surprised Sword Art didn't just block the hook as a follow-up from the ult. So to me, that's kind of making the call of you're just dead no matter what here, and not even really trying to peel it. And I'm not sure if that would have been correct or not, because to be fair, Sion was ulting in. You know, there were more members coming, so you know maybe all that would accomplish is getting both of you killed, given that they didn't have sums. But I was expecting to just see him block the hook and then use the Callista ultimate to pull him out and retreat. And you know, it just seems like the kind of basic play that they would make there, but obviously having a different read on it that they wouldn't be able to get out.
End of the day, it's ulti saved for TSM, just not their 80 carries, sadly. That's okay, he's back up in the map.
Worth less than the ulti.
Yeah, you know, so I've been in games. I've been that 80 carry, where I'm worth less than just a flash cooldown, so don't bother. But now Lost is in a lot of danger. We got some damage coming across. The ulti's coming in for Xerxes as well. That's a big damage. Xerxes gets the kill. I'm excited. It is Blue Kane, by the way. He's building lethality. He hasn't transformed yet, as far as I can tell. He looks way edgier normally as Blue Kane, but he's building lethality.
Yep. He is building lethality. Going to be pretty threatening for these backline champions, and we'll see, you know, when he can actually, you know, get that transform to come through. Of course, we could both just be blind, and maybe he's already transformed. I don't know the Kane transforms that well. I know that the scythe gets a lot bigger on Blue Kane when he does come through, so I don't think it's actually happened just yet.
Yeah, and his abilities change color, like his passive is still the blue-red. There we go. Thank you. Actually, I should have just known that our observers are good, and they would always show that transform. So, like, until you see that, you just know it hasn't happened.
Perfect.
Because it's really easy to see.
But what if you call that out and then they just intentionally grief you and never know?
Yeah. Very, like,
So
cast
everyone
game
can
2,
go on Reddit and just
and
flame
there'll
you.
be a
Wow,
Kane.
Freak never knew.
And we'll just never get a show. I'm like, wow, he's really pulling a sneak in this game. He's never transformed
They
the entire
just don't
time.
show Kane the whole game.
Yeah.
Like 6-1. All right, well, he's got his Prowler's Claw. He's got blue form. He's looking good. We'll see where he wants to attack first. The amount of burst you can actually put out with the increased damage taken from the Prowler's Claw into a WQ ult, that can be enough to just kill some of these squishy champions, especially Lost is getting pretty far behind you.
All right, Sion's got to ult away. See ya. I love that he yells cowards a lot of the time because it's so self-referential, I think more than half the time. Ultimately, the bottom turret's going to drop down here. Haven't seen many Predator ganks for Spica. I mean, to be fair, he literally just did one, and it got a Sion ulti out, so I can't really complain. But end of the day, it is a turret going down. 3-0 on turrets, 3-3 on kills. Dragons traded 1-for-1 for the other team. That important with Dragons here. Late Herald, not very exciting either, but it is going to be at least an objective picked up by Immortals. Should mean a turret will die eventually. Bot lane probably dies to just the crash or nearly so. So, you know, reasonable to find an outer turret.
Everyone always flames Sion for yelling cowards while running away, but you ever think about the fact that that was a 3v1? You know, maybe that's what he's talking about. It's not a fair fight, right? You know, to me, that makes sense. That's reasonable. Why are you ganging up on the Sion?
Yeah, Huni, why can't you fight me 1v1?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an archetype that gets underrepresented.
Yeah, it's never a fair fight in League of Legends, you know? That's what you come to realize. all these cowards ganging up on him. Huni going for what looks like a Prowler's Claw of his own. So this is a super aggressive build here from Huni, given that he is going to be side laning against a Scion who's going to be stacking armor. This tells me it's more about, getting onto and bursting out some of these squishy champions. If he can get a hold of Xerxes, Insanity, or Raze, things could look really good for him. The burst coming through, with the Blade of the Rune King, multiple hits coming through with your power W, plus the potential to dive into the backline with the Prowler's Claw can be pretty strong. Give a little bit of a dive buddy there to Sword Art and potentially Spica.
Absolutely. Well, top lane tier 2 has been raised as Huni knocked that one down after, not after Shock rather, but Demolish doing some extra work down there it's 4 turrets to 0, and we'll see if anyone from Immortals will defend or the wave will just crash on the turret. Raze walks in a mid tier 2, and that is a wave lost. And ultimately, he looks for Spica, can't find it just yet. The Raptor camp is going to be taken, and ultimately decides, hey, maybe I should walk back to the top lane and get some XP and gold. The entire team sitting in mid lane as bot lane was somewhat crashed. Huni is going to walk over and grab the rest of this one. Herald yet to be summoned yet from Xerxes.
Things looking really good for TSM, up nearly 4K at this point. Even on Dragons, we'll see if these two teams want to contest for the next one. Ocean Dragon, I think, going to be pretty hotly contested. If you were looking especially over at the Immortals side, having some pretty beefy tanks, if you can get that Ocean Soul, it can make such a world of difference. It's incredibly difficult to get through a Scion who can get to the, in the late game, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 health, plus an Ocean Soul becomes pretty difficult to deal with. But I would say the one thing going for Immortals is that Raze is looking a lot better than Lost right now. Lost has kind of been punished fairly heavily in the laning phase. You want to go really ahead with the Sklista, but not been able to do it.
All right, pops the early Kane ulti, gets right back out. Did not like that fight against Huni. Had to get away from the stun and to not get comboed down, because as you mentioned, that is a Blade of the Rune King plus some lethality. Level 12 Renekton is very punishing. Has a 2-level lead over that jungler. Xerxes, I think he's got enough camp still, and he's a bit behind the curve. You can see Spica is 11, which feels more appropriate for where a jungler should be at this point in time. Blue Kane down at XP does not feel the most powerful. Certainly those ults being bursty is a pretty important part of that kit. Stacking towards the late tier to go for the Manamune Muramana build. Definitely very, very strong with any spellcaster. So, once that comes online, it'll be a lot of damage, but that is a very late power spike. Because it's not just the gold, you have to stack that mana up too.
Yeah, you really do. And the reason people go for it, I think a lot of the time is just knowing how expensive it is to actually use a full rotation of spells there. Oh, going in for the engage, double sleep.
For Spica, over the wall, pretty safe to be honest. Shotgun's gonna pull Spica back and actually could be killed. Just jumps out of the way, but now Huni's back in for a stun, and that's so much damage. Revenge just cut down to size. Get a couple of punches up, he's not gonna get much more done. Yeah, a few more hits, it won't matter. Gets a grab.
Only had a Gale Force, am I right?
If he had Gale Force, that was maybe a kill. I'm just saying. he would have made Sword Art ult away. He was dead anyway. Why build tank?
Exactly. Yeah. True.
Yomu's
Facts
second.
being spit out here from Free.
Yeah.
Gale Force.
They will say, ooh, that is a sick play. That is a flash engage. Power of Evil. He will ult, but will it matter? He's going to flash. He's going to jump back.
Oh,
there's a
the
Kane following. This is big damage, though. They shuffle back. At least the kill comes through. Raze gets the Q across.
Here's Huni.
A good escape. And yes, Huni is here. Flashes, and oh my word! That is why he builds that build. Raze just gets deleted before our very eyes. Destiny, he's going to drop down as well. Goodbye, Australia. Goodbye, New Zealand. Immortals running away.
Yeah, and Sandy's got to get out of there, and should be the Dragon here, potentially. Looks like they're actually just going to go towards Baron. I mean, you've got Kalista, it's post 20 minutes, jungler just died. They are going to go for it. We'll see how fast they can kill it, as Huni's going to be TPing back, but Azir is dead. I mean, you're going to have so many spears in this sucker before anyone from Immortals could get over. I think it should just be theirs uncontested, and that is huge for TSM as we see the initial play once again. Zhonya's coming up massive for Power of Evil, just barely not able to burst him down, and then the shield there expires, but still not enough on the XQ damage for Kane to finish him off. Raze goes in to get that kill, but it costs him his heal and his flash, and Huni was on the flank, coming from that right side of the map, gets on top of him, kills him off immediately. Just an overcommitment there on the Power of Evil. It took way too much to get the kill, and yes, Immortals will grab this Dragon, but 20-minute Baron for TSM is huge. They're so far ahead already.
Yep, so start the timer. 2 minutes and 38 seconds left of the Red Bull Baron buff for TSM. A 7,000 gold lead. They are very, very likely to close this game out at this point. Obviously, the mid-game macro has been good. The gold lead keeps growing, and now with Baron buff on, they're going to knock down so many turrets. And Immortals, you've got 2 items on Kai'Sa, but yeah, it doesn't feel like they're going to have any of the spice to turn fights around. Xerxes still very far from his power spikes. Like, hits Sword Art for 200 damage over a wall, and that man's just not going to care on Alistar. Heals it back up as the minion wave gets cleared, and TSM can keep the siege going.
It's going to be so difficult to deal with Rune, honestly, too. With the Prowler's Claw, if you miss position at all and he gets in on top of you with Slice and Dice, Prowler's Claw, the range that he has to actually attack a Kai'Sa is fairly significant. He can pretty much one-combo you, I feel like, with that build. He is so ridiculously fed with such an offensive build here. And Rune has the ability to just completely take over this game. Immortals, though, with decent wave clear, will be trying to hold on, and TSM is just pushing the 2 waves up right now. It's still quite early in the game, so maybe Immortals can just kind of hold on and try to defend their inhibitor towers.
We're certainly going to try. All right, now knocking down the mid as fast as possible. The turrets, though, still at about 2/3 in both places. A minute 20 still on the Baron buff as well, and Immortals just going back and forth, top, bottom. Or I guess I should say top mid, but no one pushing the bottom lane right now.
Now they're gonna.
Yeah. Off goes Azir. Tier 2 is under fire pretty shortly, and probably not even defensible.
Yeah, I think that should be pretty much guaranteed. I do like just going for those 3 lanes right now to try to pick up as much gold as you can, farm away the enemy jungle camps, just increase your gold lead with this. They don't need to overcommit on any sort of a dive at the inhibitor tower. I think as long as you're pushing in the 3 lanes, being pretty safe about it, Immortals is going to bleed out objectives here. There's just no way when you're pushing all 3 lanes that like a Scion can clear out all the Baron minions by himself, for example. It's a lot easier to just kind of move the Orianna and the Kai'Sa back and forth between 2 lanes and quickly push out a wave, then go back to the other. When all 3 are getting attacked, it becomes so difficult.
Yes, it is. Back and forth they go, looking for waves. Huni, we know, can one-shot Raze, give the opportunity. 3-level lead plus the items is going to be real scary. Gale Force on Reflex maybe gets you out. And the Nautilus, you can see waiting behind the wall. Destiny, I mean, this is a good spot to be, right? You're behind the wall. He doesn't know you're there. If you go for the play, like you go for a flash, Prowler's Claw W, and it's like, well, Nautilus ult killed me, so never mind. That's, the possibility if Huni's too aggressive. Not what's going to happen here, but, in the multiverse, maybe it was a possibility. Doctor Strange saw it a few years ago. That was one of the ways where TSM might have lost this game. Otherwise, though, mid under fire yet again, down to 1/4. Lost takes some damage. They're not going to go for this play. They are finally. Sion not going to get much. Nautilus over the top. This is a lot of damage, but Lost just out of the range of the rest of the stuns. Oh, nice combo in for Sword Art. 3-hit Shockwave as well, though. That's going to buy some time. No sleeps, a flash away from Speak. A great defense by Immortals. The triple Shockwave bought so much time.
Yeah, the initial engage looked like it was going to be good on Lost, but Huni just kind of popped his ult and just stood there and it's like, nope, you're not running past me. Insanity and Raze can't follow up as a result, knowing if you try to go past this Renekton, you're just going to get straight up blown up. But it was a good shockwave there from Insanity. They do end up coming out ahead as far as the summoners are concerned, at least. It looks like they forced a couple more flashes.
Yeah. Correct me wrong, Azale. Did Lost ult right before he got stunned by Nautilus, like he was holding a pocket Sword Art?
I'm not sure. We'd have to actually go back and see it.
Fair enough, because that's one way. It's like, hey, if Kai'Sa ults me off Nautilus ult, I just throw an Alistar at you, and it's like, you're not winning that fight race. Like, you're CC'd for 8 seconds and nothing happens. So if he did, that would be a really sick proactive play. Regardless, Sword Art obviously could have positioned well, and it still would have been fine. But yeah, the like, max range engage on Kalista. There's actually a lot of counterplay here on the TSM side. Stopwatch, in fact, now picked up by Lost. I believe that's new. So now really, really not diveable. TSM, yeah, are not very vulnerable here. Like, realistically, they're all defensive. Steric's gauge is done for Huni. Zhonya's done on 2. Stopwatch. Yeah.
It's tough, man. There's not a lot of good targets for Kane now, right? Generally, Blue Kane works well when the map is really spread out and you can find people in the side lanes because your move speed is so ridiculous. When you're penned into your base and you can't really get out, there's no clever angle to come at. There's no odd man that you can find off by themselves. And because he's losing all his jungle camps and he's falling behind in experience, a level 12 Kane is not threatening to a level 16 Renekton in the side lane whatsoever. So feels like a pretty difficult game for Immortals from here. And Sword Art now threatening. Okay. TP flank coming in.
Here we go. Nice headbutt pull comes across. Huni's right there. Destiny going to drop so very fast after shock. Just going to actually keep him alive with a shield on top as well. Huni's going to drop as well. That's the one downside of the squishy. And now it's time for Revenge to start punching. And there's the team to re-engage. Sleep's going to come across. A huge knockback by PoE. Finds Insanity. Raze goes big, but can't get the rest of the kills now. He's stuck. He's very stuck. The man does have flash, though, and is able to keep himself alive. Nearly found those kills, but TSM just too tanky with the 9,000 gold difference.
Yeah, it's the gold lead in action right there, smacking him with the wallet. Gonna be able to grab the dragon off the back of that, go positive in the kills as well. As you said, Huni did go down and went down in a hurry as he was hit by a lot of the abilities early on in that fight from the Immortals members, but because of how strong Power of Evil is in particular, if you give that Azir free time, he's going to get a lot of work done. The initial TP comes in, but the targets really aren't that juicy for Huni. This Ion ultimate hits him immediately, then he gets Shockwave back in, and he had a flank onto the Nautilus and the Scion, right? He didn't have that incredible target right off the bat to try to burst out, so he gets taken down, but Power of Evil catching Insanity, who without that Shockwave that was used to kill off Huni, really can't defend himself against the Azir there, and TSM do come out on top in that fight and are 9,000 or so gold ahead at this point.
Tied up the Dragons. Not expecting Soul in this game. I don't think we're going to see a 38-minute game here. Right now, though, we're seeing the Baron dance begin as a Trinket Ward is used, and Xerxes gets away from his Swirl Seed, but you can see Immortals trying to defend the part of the jungle they know TSM want to go for. And yet, despite that, TSM still able to lock in, knock down the wards. Blue Trinket made the reposition happen. And as the Swirl Seed came down, they pushed people out of range. So, TSM trying to take over the rest of this. Trinket used to see the Baron is not being started just yet, but that's another one on cooldown now. 2 Trinkets still left, though, for Immortals. Means they can keep playing the Baron dance for a while. Dodging the Seed, but TSM can always walk back when they want. And Alistar actually starting to move around for a flank. You can see where he is in the top jungle. Will not find the play just yet. Still a decent set of defensive wards, but they're starting to go down. Control ward drops number 2. A couple of Trinket wards from that jungle could be killed as well. PoE's turret going to add some more space for TSM.
Yep.
And
they just want to get them shoved in all the way, then go to the Baron, so now there's more distance that Immortals have to really cover to actually get over there and potentially answer anything. But they have a pretty clever ward outside the Baron pit. That one hugging the wall there is often not spotted, because often what happens is people will drop their pink wards inside the pit, and if it's hugging the wall right outside the pit like that, it's not actually going to catch that. So you'll need to either sweep the outside of the pit, then drop the pink inside, or use 2 to catch it. And in this case, TSM don't even have a pink in the pit and didn't catch it with the sweeper just yet. So Immortals kind of chilling right now, thank you to that ward. We'll have a good idea if TSM ever starts it up.
Crucial that TSM, they indeed replaced a controller that they had in the pit to help push things out, to rest control the jungle. Ultimately, though, couldn't get any more done with it. And as you mentioned, yeah, the ward's still up. That's a very nice one.
Spot it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can get a vision toggle to see how much it sees, because sometimes it's not a lot, but we'll at least see Lost walk over. Heatblade comes in, and if it sees Lost autoing, which it might, they'll know what's going on. So they can see him walk towards the pit, but they don't know 100%. Now they will know a lot more. The TPs come in to make the contest happen. Now Xerxes, of course, can easily get back over the wall. There's no way to keep a Kane out of the pit realistically. And so TSM, they can try with Ren, but it's still a risk here. So I think we're going to see the fight instead. Huni finds the stun. Here comes Revenge down to 1k already. Gets the slam. Shockwave is going to find a kill. But Azonius for loss keeps him alive. 2 for 1 so far to TSM. Raise the back line. Tries to get the damage. They will force the stop to Huni. And down goes the zombie ghost. Huni's so low but will not die. PoE will be attacked, but it's not going to be enough. He's just too tanky. Raze doesn't have the gold to get the kills. TSM only lose 1, but they kill 4.
And Lost is still alive here. He's back at the Raptors healing back up, but they could push for a potential end here. It's just Destiny alive, and that should do it for TSM. A dominant game here from them today.
Absolutely dominant. I agree. Nice stuff by TSM. Wins everywhere. 1-0-10 for Sword Art. That's been nice. Power of Evil also very good at 3-1-8. Turret number 1 drops. There's the quick kill for the Bud Light Ace. Good job to TSM. This will eliminate Immortals from playoff contention. We will have our top 6. EG are guaranteed to be in there. TSM still fighting for first with a dominant win over Immortals.
Really nicely done, and in particular, very impressed with PoE here today. The early game from him was so good. The TP to top lane to set up the dive, the second TP immediately down to bot lane in those early minutes, getting a kill down there as well. Felt like he was extremely proactive. He was critical in the team fights, found a pick around mid after Kane had used his flash to get a kill bot. Feels like he was punishing people left and right. You look at that one fight where Huni died, over by the blue side jungle from Immortals. Orianna uses the Shockwave, kills Huni. He immediately gets on the Orianna and kills him off. Really just was on top of everything, it felt like, this game start to finish.
Yep, absolutely agree. It felt like TSM, constantly the ones playing aggressively, did not have to play for Dragons. They set up the Baron twice instead, and that's what got them over the edge. But all the plays up until then were obviously going TSM, 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 like the crowd chants when the LCS can finally reopen, hopefully sometime this year. Now it's time for a step away. But when we return, the State Farm Analyst Desk will break down that TSM win, so we'll see you soon.
Your Honda MVP!
Dreams aren't achieved overnight. They take passion, dedication. And even then, there are no guarantees. But for the LCS, that's the power of dreams. It means you never give up. It means you always play again. Honda, proud automotive partner of the LCS. Welcome back to the LCS and the State Farm Analyst Desk, where TSM has just cruised to a bounce-back victory here against Immortals. But I do actually want to start from the Immortals perspective, Primal, when we take a look at the draft. In particular, that Kane pick in the jungle. What are your thoughts?
This Kane pick is not it, man. You know, we talked about this in Countdown. What IMT needs out of Xerxes is simple initiative and frontline. And Kane is neither of those, right? If we look at the draft, they ended up painting themselves into a corner, right? Instead of going for multiple jungle bans and then being put on a tier 2 jungler, I would have loved to see them actually just play Lilia or Hecarim, take that trade. He's played 13 games of Hecarim and Lilia up to this point. It's clearly their comfort zone. So I think they need to recognize what kind of team they are and play champions that suit their different jobs.
Meanwhile, you know, PoE is still going Azir. I actually really like this draft for TSM because it supports a lot of what we already have talked about as TSM strengths. You have Sword Art on a playmaker, you have PoE on a control mage he's very, very comfortable with. You have Spica on something that he can move around very quickly around the map, contribute to team fights and farms very quickly. I think Lilia alongside Hecarim are the strongest junglers on this patch. But then you have some early game in there. They're sneaking in there, Primal. Does this make you happy? Like, you have the Kalista, you have the Renekton. I know Renekton's a controversial pick, but like you're going for early laning pressure from those two picks.
Oh no, this whole early game was beautiful from TSM. You know, this is exactly what we want to see, right? We want to see them trying to make plays individually in lane. We want to see them doing things like a tower dive on top. They recognize Huni's playing strong side. The wave is crashing. PoE's like, you know what? I don't need to sit mid and get extra CS. I'm actually going to go in the jungle. I'm actually going to go top and unlock my lane. So absolutely love it from TSM.
Yeah, I know my analyst yesterday told me pretty definitively they felt Azir was dead. Power of Evil clearly thinks differently, and it was on full display here. Not only his prowess on the champion, but just his mastery over the mid lane matchup.
Right, so when you take a look at this game, you might not think that there's a massive mid diff due to the fact that there isn't like a massive CS lead or anything like that, but when you actually take a look at the game breakdown and look at what happened, I'm going to say that there was a massive mid difference. First and foremost, Orianna to Azir is a pretty hard matchup for Orianna, so I don't blame Insanity that much. You have to do a few things such as like ulting Azir in the wave to keep him under control. But the first thing that we will take a look at are the item choices. Insanity chose to rush a Verdant Barrier, whereas PoE chose to rush a Lost Chapter. And while Verdant Barrier is a very strong item, it's a very weak laning item unless you start taking a lot of trades against the Azir, but he pretty much just played PvE against the wave and just let PoE push him in. And when Azir goes for the Lost Chapter, he has a lot more pushing power than Orianna. So the fact that Insanity didn't take a lot of trades made him lose pressure in lane, and you could take a look at that with the stats. Normally, PoE before this has like an 18.6% forward percentage, but in this game, he had 38.9. He's pretty much just shoving the wave in every single wave, moving around the map, teleporting first. Not only that, he's making plays with his teleports. He's chunking down the tower. He is insanely ahead this game, despite the CS being the same. So it's something it's hard to notice at first glance, but when you really take a look at the game, it was a massive mid difference.
And yeah. I really like what Hive brought up there, because the fact that he's TPing bot side, the fact that he's using all of this pressure that he's gathering to go into, top side jungle, help out Spica there, help out the bot lane. Like, he's basically transferring all of this pressure on something that we would typically see him kind of sit in mid lane with, right, on the Azir. And I also liked some other map movements from TSM, like, for example, how they just gave up on second Herald and they ended up contesting second Drake instead and getting that, which basically ruins IMT's ability to dragon stack. I think they had a lot of really good responses for what IMT wanted to do, and it really all started with PoE's pressure.
Yeah, and I think one thing we should call out here is TSM had a good draft for what TSM likes to do. Right? Mm-hmm. Like we talked about Ryoma and 100 Thieves and how they tried to completely pivot their style when the meta shifted. Azir is a champion who just got nerfed. Right? A lot of people were saying, okay, this kind of kills the champion, makes it really, really hard to play this champion and competitive. But instead, TSM says, look, we're just going to have PoE do his genius math, figure out how to shore up some of the downsides from Azir's weakened laning phase, and still get the kind of results we want to see. So I really like this sort of commitment to the style that they have from the coaching team. So good job, Bjergsen, and good job, TSM.
And the Power of Evil show did not end there. We scroll ahead to 20 minutes, just post 20 minutes into the game. Looks like he's getting caught out, and he will ultimately go down in the fight high, but the heads-up play brings a big lead into TSM's side.
Yeah, so this is one of those situations where one, PoE looks to be out of position, but two, IMT is also tilted. Everyone on their team has experienced the power of Azir this game. They're like, all right, we gotta get rid of this guy, man. He's killing me top, he's killing me bottom, he's killing me at the dragon. Let's kill this guy. We're going to hard for him. Unfortunately, for IMT, PoE is a really good player and gets all the way from the mid, all the way behind his tower, trades 2 kills for that, and just basically shows, hey, you got me, but I got all of you. So it's kind of like who really won that. It's like calling the ambulance for them, but not me, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. So no surprise, I think, to anybody based on the conversation that we've been having here so far on the desk that PowerVivo will be awarded Player of the Game for his performance here on the day. An incredible bounce back for TSM as a whole. And beyond that, what this will do to our standings. With Immortals dropping in that game, it does mean that we have solidified our top 6. Of course, there's still plenty of seeding to be played for at this point, but Evil Geniuses will be the 6th and final team in. Let me get your gut reactions to the 6 teams that we'll see competing in the postseason.
I think this is what we kind of expect so far. I think there'll be some movement between the different teams. Like, we might see 100 Thieves fall down a few ranks if they can't get it together by end of split. But overall, I think TSM is spiking at exactly the right time. And they're doing it with Azir, PoE, player of the game, despite all the changes. So I think overall, this is sort of what we expected, but I think we're going to see some movement for between the top 2 and the bottom 4.
Well, you talk about those top 2, and then we got a couple of those teams going up against each other in just a bit. We are going to take a quick breather on the other side. We've got a clash of the top teams with Dignitas taking on Cloud9.
Romulus, your city will be finished in just one day.
Finished? My Colosseum! They'll never finish it today!
Unfortunately, we ran out of Red Bull.
Huh, so that's why Rome wasn't built in a day.